Jim and Becky Ingersoll, thanks for being here.
I'm privileged to be here.
Now, we can't miss you because you're wearing the Dayglow shirt for a good reason. The two of you are involved in disaster relief. Unfortunately, you've got plenty to do, but it's disaster relief with a difference. Preparing people, but utilizing young people, getting them out onto the front lines to be the hands and feet of Jesus and assisting people who've been afflicted by disasters. Your background is in education. Jim, you were a school principal, and then you work in administration, assisting schools and school principals. You both have a background in education. All right, describe what it is you do and why you do it.
Young people are the key, I think, to this whole process of helping people in times of need. They're custom designed for it. They're young, they sleep on the floor for
That's right.
5 nights in a row, you feed them well, you give them a shower, and they're out playing, making new friends and that kind of thing after working hard each day.
Yeah.
But they care about people. They want to make a difference, and they need those opportunities. And so disasters provide a custom-designed way for young people to get out and make a difference in the lives of people and actually provide hope.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people need. They're literally dying from lack of hope. Their homes have been washed away, or they've been inundated by trees, and people have come to take advantage of them. And when somebody can come in with young people and touch their lives in a way that's tangible, they can see the difference, and they can see the young people, they're happy about what they're doing. They want to make a difference. They care about it. They hug them. We pray with them. We share Jesus with them.
Let me take a little detour here because you said something that caught my attention and no doubt the attention of many other people. When people have been affected by a disaster, you said people want to take advantage of them. Mm-hmm. How does that happen? What do you see? I don't know much about that. What do people experience?
Well, over and over again, individuals will come in and say, oh, I see these trees are down. You need some help. Well, yes, we do.
Sure, I need help. Thank you.
So we'll do that for $10,000.
Cash, usually.
Well, people don't have $10,000. And if it's not on a house, on a garage, or on their car, insurance won't pay. So these trees down in the yard are just there, up to them to address. So when we show up and these individuals over here want to charge them $10,000 to do this, and we come in and say, you know, we're here, we'd like to help you, and they're kind of like, I don't know.
I don't have $10,000.
Yeah, and so my response is, you know, the Lord's blessed us, and He sent us here today to bless you. We don't charge for what we do. So if you're willing, we'll help you for no charge.
So who are we? You say we are here to help. Who's the we that you represent?
Well, it's the young people. Our organization's name is To Serve, the number 2 with the word serve attached, capital S-E-R-V-E. And the idea is Christ asked us to serve. He sent people out 2 by 2. And so we've invited young people from our schools around here in the Southern Union, and others have come, to go out and help these individuals in times of extreme need, where they need hope.
So what you're saying to young people, and young people get a bad rap today.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, but you know what? Deservedly, in my opinion. I'll come back to that in a moment. Young people get a bad rap today. And so you say to young people, I'd like you to hit the pause button on your life and wade into a disaster area where there's probably no electricity, or it's going to be hard to come by.
Correct.
You're not going to be eating at McDonald's or wherever every day. You're not going to be sleeping in comfort and luxury, and you're going to work like a dog. And young people respond by saying what?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
There's no shortage of young people who want to really give of themselves.
No.
I can't even contact all of our schools because there'd be so many. My wife is the cook for our group, and she's finally drawn the number at 100. We average about 100 a day for 2 weeks. Could be 200 if we chose.
So you and presumably a team are going to cook for 100 people 3 times a day, or feed 100 people 3 times a day.
Yes.
Oh, that's a big job. That's a big job.
And then trying to restock.
Yes.
Like Panama City, when we went to that storm, we were there 3 weeks. It was 7 days before we got power. We didn't have sewer. We didn't have water. We're all taking bottled water showers, and I'm cooking on a grill, somebody's home grill. And now we have a 3-burner stove that I can take in. So
Take with you.
at a disaster, we always ask, do you have power?
Yeah.
Because if they don't have power, my menus have to change.
Sure.
My cooking has to change. So,
No doubt.
Yeah.
So I said something a moment ago that I'm happy to come back to. I said young people get a bad rap deservedly. I think it's deserved.
Yes.
Young people are a whole lot less useful today than they used to be.
Correct.
I'm going to correct that. Sorry, I'm going to address that. It's not that they're inherently useless.
No.
It's just that society is stacked against them. We're not giving them opportunities. We're giving them mobile devices so that they can become morons and live with their faces glued down, watching inanity scroll past every 5 seconds. I think if you give today's young people the opportunity to rise and shine, they will, just like yesteryear's young people.
Absolutely.
And this is one of the great strengths, I think, of this program,
And they-
is
yeah.
to make really strong, useful, serving people out of people. Sorry.
And they've been amazing. You need to tell the story of Heritage when they had to run a pod, and the military that was running it said, we don't want teenagers.
Okay, hang on a minute. So you're going into situations with everyday young people, and what I mean by that they haven't been selected from the elite of the elite. What I'm saying is
No.
they're just school kids, whatever comes at you. And they're stepping into and serving in situations where the military are working.
You know, the National Guard is called out.
Yeah.
And many times they'll run pods, which is a point of distribution where they're handing out food and water and tarps and that kind of thing.
I can imagine that would be chaotic.
It can be. People drive through. They don't get out of their vehicles,
Okay.
and you put these things in their vehicles for them as they pass through. And they'll average 1,000 cars a day many times. So it's busy. You're lifting heavier things. A box of MREs is going to be probably 20 pounds. You pick up a couple of those, and you do it about 1,000 times a day. Had a good workout.
That's quite the workout. So you were mentioning kids from Heritage Academy, which is a couple of hours north of where we are here.
Mm-hmm.
And they rolled into a situation like that. What was the reaction? The guard said, no, thanks.
Well, they typically, as you were saying, young people are dinging around creating problems.
Sure.
So they said, we don't want them here. Well, it turns out the Emergency Operations Center said, this is going to happen. So the next day they came back, and the kids automatically know what to do. They've been involved in this before. So they're cleaning up the area. They're beginning to get things set out. They're starting to address cars. They're not being told by the National Guard what to do. They're just taking care of business.
Fantastic.
At the end of the second day, they're the best buds. You know, they're just like, hey, where did y'all come from? This is not supposed to happen like this. In fact, you know, you should be creating problems. Instead, you're the solution to some of the needs we have here.
Isn't that fantastic?
And we've had people say, we expected these kids to have bad language, and they're not. In fact, that incident, several of the kids had brought ukuleles, and on their breaks, because when you're out in the hot sun, you need a 15-minute break
Oh,
about
yeah.
every hour. And so you rotate through breaks. Well, they started playing their ukuleles and singing Christian music to these people who did not want them a couple days before.
So this is just a great advertisement for young people, for service, for faith in God, for Christianity. What are the kinds of environments you've gone into? You've already alluded to some of this when you've said there may be no sewer, plenty of sewage, no sewer. There may be no electricity.
Correct.
And you're taking a team of roughly how many? Would it be 100 at a
100?
time?
We showed up in Panama City after Hurricane Michael with 90. And my primary concern was sanitation.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how the Lord provides. And Pavel Goya's nephew, Nori, was a builder over in Fort Walton. And he asked, what do you need? I said, well, my concern is sanitation. He said, well, I have one porta-john on the job. He brought it over. Well, you know, the next day after 90 people, you're a crisis situation.
Yes, you are.
And people are coming like, what are we going to do here? And I said, all I know is God and Nori are working on this.
Well, and back up a little bit. Jim had contacted the government, and they were supposed to be bringing in porta potties and hand wash stations. But the phone cut off coming into Panama City. There was no cell service. So they thought it was canceled, that we weren't coming. So we didn't have that. So he planned ahead, but then that didn't work.
Question for you. This sounds like a grand adventure.
It is.
It's like a grand adventure. And I can imagine myself saying, oh, let's go and have a grand adventure. Hey, at what point does it stop being an adventure and does it start to become reality? Is it after 5 minutes, or is it after a day, or is it in the second day? Because at some stage, the gloss wears off this, and people who are participating realize this isn't Six Flags, man. This is a grind, a happy grind. You're serving, so it's all good, but the service can be creaky sometimes.
Well, you do bottled water showers for 5 days or so.
Yeah.
It can become laborious because particularly somebody with long hair like my wife, you're having to really work to get the soap out
4
and all
bottles. For me, 4 bottles.
But you have those kind of things, and you're running generators 24/7. So you have the noise, you have the challenges of that, you have the heat. So you don't have AC like you do in other places when the power's gone. So you have 100-degree weather, and at nighttime you're trying to sleep, and we had some fans blowing and so on. But people come with the idea, we're not going to Six Flags, we're going down here to work. So they get that piece. And
Even
so
the
then,
students. The students, like Jim said, can sleep on the floor. They can work all day. After worship at night, they're playing till it's bedtime. They make up games. They have this game with water bottles, and they
Yeah.
have a little water and try to flip and see who can get the most bottles to, stand up.
So they're finding ways to amuse themselves.
Correct.
And turn what might be a challenging situation to a memorable situation.
yeah.
Hey, question for you. Question for you. You may not want to say this. You get 100 kids. How many of them are going to flake on you? Can you expect
don't.
there'll
They
be 1,
can't.
there'll be 2, it's 5%? Or you're going to tell me that by and large, they all step up. It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah,
fantastic.
they choose to come. It's not something where
Yeah.
the school says you have to come and do
That's right.
this. They're saying we want to go see what this is like and how we can serve in a different way than what we're used to, because they're in the thick of it. I mean, when you're in a place, no power, no water, and you have the military there, because we had 8 National Guard, 24/7, security, taking care of the needs there, controlling the cars coming through some, and
In Panama City, because the church was right in the heart of the worst hit.
I know
And-
that church too.
And the church had minor damage. People met at the church praying, Lord, we're in your sanctuary. And we have testimonies from those people that said, the Lord protected us. This is his house, and we knew to come to the altar.
Wow, that's faith, and thank God that worked out well. Let's just back up a little bit here, because your experience with kids goes way back. I mean, it's pretty real when you're in the classroom, and then when you're running a school, and you've done that for many years, and then working at a high level to help those who run schools run schools. It's pretty easy to talk about the problems, sometimes so easy that that's all we do rather than talking about the solutions. How important do you think it is to expose kids to service opportunities? How important, in the grand scheme of things, how important is it to give kids the opportunity to forget about themselves for a while and pour themselves into something like this? How would you rate that?
Number one, I mean, that's what the Lord did. He went out and served. He didn't sit in the sanctuary or there in a synagogue somewhere and for everybody to come. He went out. He asked us to go out and touch people where they are and meet their needs where they are. And to have young people have that opportunity to know that God has called them to go and help these people in times of extreme need. They've lost their homes, or it's been flooded and they need to be mucked out, and they need these trees cut, or they need food and water. I mean, all of these things are essential. And for a kid to know, I'm making a difference in this person's life today. And I can see a tangible difference in their demeanor even, where before they were hopeless. And now these kids have been in there working hard and making a difference. And at the end, the people look at them and say, you've given us hope. What more could you ask for?
This is It Is Written Live. My guests are Jim and Becky Ingersoll. They represent or lead an organization called To Serve, giving young people the opportunity to serve others on the front lines during times of natural disaster and times of great need. In a few moments, I'm going to be speaking with Dr. Greg Steinke. We'll be talking about health and longevity, what you can do to bless your health and give yourself a better shot at living longer and well. That's coming up. Back to the Ingersolls, and I really appreciate you being here. So I hear hurricane is coming to Florida. I hear that, I don't know, I have no idea. Now around here, we've lived through tornadoes and we've seen tornado damage. Mm-hmm. You might have heard the story of the tornado that came through a few years ago, came bearing right for the building we're in right now, and split. On that side of the building, there's a row of trees which was largely demolished, knocked down.
I remember that.
On this side of the building, another row of trees knocked down. Across the street, there's woods, and through those woods, you could see two pathways for some time until it grew back. And then the tornadoes jumped over those facilities over there and then dinged up the storage facility over yonder. So we were we were in the crosshairs.
Yeah.
And the angel said, my words, not a revelation from God, this ain't going to happen. And the winds split and went around us. We're grateful. That's about all I know. I've driven through tornado damage around Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. That's going back many years. And here, I went over there and looked around those neighborhoods. But you hear the high winds are coming to someplace in Florida. You know. Take us there. What do people go through and experience? What's that like when your boots are on the ground and you see that? What are you seeing? Tell me.
Well, you see lots of devastation, and it's overwhelming. And it brings you back to the story of the little kid walking along the beach with all the starfish, and he's throwing one back in, and this guy comes along like, kid, you can't make a difference with all these. And he just picks up another one and he throws it in the water. Made a difference for that one.
Made a difference to that one.
So you have to realize you got to start somewhere. You start with this house, and you go to that house, and you go to this other house. And you find ways where you make a difference, and then you start expanding as opportunities are provided. So if you try to look at the scope of things, you become overwhelmed. So you have to just start right here in this place and make a difference. And the most recent storm that strikes everybody is Hurricane Helene. And our initial response was to go to Florida as always. Yeah. But we had some boots on the ground there, and it looked like the need was not as much as it was going to be for the Appalachian people in North Carolina.
What a shock that was.
Who never saw that coming, never. And over again, people said, we just didn't know what to do. I mean, we're not prepared for this. It's not supposed to happen here like this. Some got 30 inches of rain, 30 inches of rain. And they're coming off the mountainsides, and then they're joining into these streams and becoming torrents. One stream, 42 feet above normal.
42 feet?
42 feet, going at 82 miles an hour. I can't even wrap my mind around that.
That's going to destroy everything.
Yes, nothing is going to stand in its pathway. And that was just one stream. I mean, there were multiples. And so people were just totally wiped out, and they're still recovering. News moved on after 4 days or so.
Yeah, it's not sexy anymore. We just figured all about that, but lives are still being put back together, in some cases very slowly.
Yeah, in February, we were up there, had one of our schools. We wanted to give hands-on with people that are now recovering. And we're handing out gift bags with essentials in there. And we came upon this lady sitting in her camper, wrapped up, gloves on. She'd run out of propane. And we're talking on the outskirts of a big city. And I've said, man, this shouldn't happen. We're going to get you propane. For somebody to be cold like that in the United States makes no sense.
That's right.
We should look out for one another better than that.
Yeah.
But those are the kind of situations that carry on for, it'll be decades before they recover from Hurricane Helene. But over and over again, People are without hope, no insurance, no home, living in tents, literally freezing to death. It's
So
beyond
let
reason.
me ask you a question. That was never supposed to happen, of course. That was a more than
100
once in a
years at
lifetime.
least.
Yeah, yeah. And it was an utter disaster. What should people be doing to live in some kind of state of preparedness for a disaster that, I mean, here where we are in the greater Chattanooga area, we are vulnerable to tornadoes.
As we speak.
When we see the way rain can fall around here, it's clear that in some places we're vulnerable to flooding as well. We haven't had major flooding in the years I've been here, nothing major, but man, that could happen. Just a couple of weeks ago, Hickson, the roads in Hickson were underwater, cars were underwater. And you will recall that in Nashville just a couple of years ago, suddenly a river or a creek or something that never rises rose and there were deaths. So what can we do without being histrionic or neurotic? How can we sensibly prepare for the sorts of things that frankly may well happen? What would you recommend?
Well, there's a training program that we're involved with as well. It's called CERT, Community Emergency Response Team Training, where people are trained how to be prepared. And then many people think, all I have to do is pull out my phone, call 911, they're going to rush over and take care of our problems.
Yeah, when 100,000 people are calling 911, you may well be 99,999 on the list.
Well,
Well-
and when your roads are blocked with trees,
Right.
they can't get in there.
Can't get there anyway. Yeah.
Well, the tornado you were talking about recently, they had 900 phone calls immediately. Well, how do you vet those? How do you get to people that need it? You can't. So how do you survive? You and your neighbors, your family, how do you survive? And so we teach those skills, some basic first aid skills, search and rescue skills, psychological and spiritual first aid, how to deal with fires. These things are in a 20-hour course that FEMA put it together, but it kind of lost a little bit of its push because money became less available as time goes along. You shift funds another direction, but we're still doing that. We've probably trained over 1,500 people at this point
Fantastic.
where they will know how to be prepared. They will know what to do.
I know you can't do anything exhaustive right now, but give me 2 or 3 or 4 simple things that most people wouldn't think to do, but they should think to do.
Have a go bag. A go bag is where you have things in there where you could survive 3 days wherever you go.
Okay.
In your house, in your car, at work.
Yep.
Grab that, go. All the essentials are there. Even if you go to a shelter doesn't have all the things you are going to need, whether it's medications or charging plugs, whatever it may be. So have that go bag, but then also have a place in your home. If a tornado's coming, have you already designated where you're going to be? And do you have some water and stuff in there? Perhaps if you're trapped for a number of hours, people can't get to you for whatever reason, you can survive. So having some of those basics in place is important, but people don't think about it.
No.
And so Helene, classic case, we didn't know what to do. But had they planned ahead for the unexpected, they would have had those things in place, and whether they're blocked in for 3 or 4 days or a week, you can still survive and manage. So those are some basic things that are taught, and there are plenty of things. Ready.gov is a great location to go to.
Okay, that's helpful.
So that's a website where they have all kind of different scenarios, flooding, hurricanes, tornadoes, whatever it may be. You can go there and find out information of how to prepare yourself and what to do in the event that happens.
And listen to the warnings. When we have gone to Florida, those warnings come out and people will evacuate. And then if it hasn't hit their neighborhood, they come back and say, we will never evacuate again. And they're going to be caught. And in North Carolina, they had never had the rivers rise like that. There was a family of 11 that washed away, 11 members of one family. And because they had never had it happen there. Listen to the warnings.
There's evacuation fatigue, isn't there? We evacuated
Yes.
the last 3 times. We ain't going this time.
Correct.
Your advice is
Do it.
every time.
Take your risks. It's a calculated risk.
Sure.
And people in Florida now are realizing every year something's going to happen. But whether it's going to happen to me, I'll take this calculated risk. I'm going to put the sandbags, I'm going to board up the windows, but I'm staying home. I'm not going to do the 20-hour journey from Orlando to Atlanta with 2 million of my closest friends on Interstate 75, where all 6 lanes are going out. Nobody's going in. They're all coming out. And so you have $6 a gallon for gas. You have $300 a night for Motel 6. All the locusts in front of you have eaten the food. And so now you're traveling this journey to get out of harm's way, and you come back home and nothing's happened to your home. They do that, and they say, whether it's fatigue of getting away or not, I'm not doing this anymore.
Right. I want to ask you in just a moment about kids and more of what you've seen. We got about 8 minutes, so we'll get right to that question though. So here we are where we live, and over there, a neighborhood got devastated by tornadoes. How do we help? How do people who want to help in a way that's helpful?
Well, first off, you have to want to go and make a difference. What I've noticed is in Florida, 2 feet can make a difference whether your house is flooded or not. So this home over here has been flooded. These people have not, but they go about business as usual. Well, sorry about you, but I got stuff to do. And so people move on.
Fishing or playing, they'll pull out with their boats while their next door neighbor, their house is a mess.
Oh, brutal.
So they're not inclined to help as much, but what a person can do is grab a chainsaw and go and help somebody cut their way out if they need it. When the last tornado came through, 3:30 in the morning, I'm laying there in bed, and I know what has to be done because our way's blocked and the next way probably is blocked. So I said, Beck, let's just go start cutting. So we're cutting a lane, get through. The next place is worse than the first one. But somebody has to go out and start doing this.
Right.
Others start joining in as daylight comes, and it becomes a thing now where others recognize, hey, we can go over and help this neighbor, we can go over here and help this person. So it becomes a little bit of synergy involved with that, but somebody needs to step out initially and say, I'm going to make a difference here, and go do that.
You know what I've seen? I recall being in Washington. It was certainly Washington, northeastern Washington, and while we were there was a terrible storm came through. Some trees were down. Boom! There were people out on the roads cutting ways through. These sorts of things, although we don't want them, they do bring out the best in people, don't they?
Absolutely.
And the worst.
And the worst, that's right. The $10,000 for removing a couple of trees and the $6 a gallon for gas.
Well, and the anger. I told Jim this time with Helene, when I would be out and about getting groceries for this big group, I said it's the first time in all these disasters that I saw good people and bad people, nobody in the middle.
Is that right? What did you see?
They were either good or bad. Within a mile and a half, 2 miles of the campus, there were 4 murders at a gas station because somebody cut in front of them.
Oh.
And when I went to Walmart to stock up, I needed to get bread because I'm serving 100 people a day and they're making sandwiches and all that. And I was in the bread aisle and they had stocked. And so I'm loading my cart with bread and this woman said, it's a 2 loaf limit. And I said, really? Because there were no signs up. So I went to the manager and he said, I was wearing my shirt, our 2 serve, and I had Jim's business card, and I told him what we were doing, and he said, you can get up to 50 loaves today, but when you get ready to leave the store, you need to come here, and we will escort you out, because he said, when people see that, they will swarm you for the bread. And I'd never had that happen in all of the disasters we've done. That was a first, and I did make it safely because they escorted me out, helped me load it, and I moved on.
Ooh, that's sobering, isn't it? The best brings out the best and the worst. Okay, let's go back to the kids. Because you're taking 100 young people at a time, regular high school kids who want to be there, they want to serve, they rise to the occasion, they demonstrate the very best of humanity, they work their tails off. Share a couple of stories about the sorts of things you've seen, either from the kids or what they've been up against or something they've overcome. Tell me some of these stories.
People doubt that there's a God in heaven that takes care of business. But young people in Hurricane Katrina, I'm going to go back to that piece, that event. They're at a remote kitchen, and they're running out of food. They had 1,200 hot dogs and buns left. They had counted them. And at the end of the day, they had fed 4,000 people.
Hang on a minute. This is a loaves and fishes story.
It is, absolutely.
They had 1,200 hot dogs and buns,
That's all they had left.
and with those they fed 4,000 people.
And we were teaching circ training in Calhoun, south of here, and we had a number of adults and some students there. This adult raised his hand and said, "That is a true story. I was there. I helped count those, and yes, it was 1,200. First time we had encountered people who were there, and he said, absolutely, we served 4,000.
And that's something. What does that do to the young people?
They want to come back. Almost invariably, kids, I want to do this again. And if they have the opportunity, they come back.
So these are young people, and who I said earlier get a bad rap sometimes, and deservedly. It's not because of them. It's because the way we're setting them up to fail. You set them up to succeed, which is what you guys are doing with 2Serve, and they succeed and witness miracles.
A couple of things that I need to say also. More adults are now wanting to get involved. And adults can bring toys such as skid steers, tractors, other things of that nature. So if your manpower is lower for whatever reason, a skid steer can do the work of 10 or 15 people.
Sure.
So adults are coming now. They're helping with the kitchen, and they're helping in different areas where it's essential, finding jobs, making sure we have people that are busy. I don't want them to come and sit on their hands. They have to be busy. And so adults are getting involved in this more so. But it's a combination of the church, who provides a place to stay, the conferences that we've worked with through the years, reimburse receipts for food. We have a shower trailer the Lord has blessed us with. So the essentials are covered. We need sweat equity. And so that's where young people and adults combine to come together at no cost to them. Everything is covered. They just need to get there. We're going to keep you busy.
So right now people are saying, hey, we could do that, or we should do that, or you should do that. How do they get involved?
You know, your local church can do things. This is not rocket science. While we'll be happy to come and share what we do and have done that in many places, getting out there and seeing what needs to be done. Now, sometimes if you don't know the ways to get involved, that can be problematic because there are looters and people coming in to steal. So they're going to block the way to get in there. Joe Public can't just walk in and take pictures and do whatever they want to do. So having an address that you're going to in there in the name of a person, we're going to go help these individuals here. Generally, they'll let you pass. Or if you have your certificate and you show that to them, that can help you get past these
That you are trained
roadblocks.
and
You have a purpose for being there. It's just not, we're not just showing up and seeking.
So how can people find out more about what you are doing? Is there a website they can go to?
2Serve, the number 2 with the word serve attached to it, .life, L-I-F-E, 2serve.life.
2serve.life. You know, you could be doing other things since you're retired from the education work. You could be putting your feet up and watching the flowers grow. But instead, you're training people, teaching people, traveling, putting yourself in really uncomfortable situations, and God is using you in a great way.
Hallelujah.
You're seeing miracles worked.
Absolutely.
This has been fun. Thanks for sharing. 2serve.life.
Yes.
The number 2, SERVE.life, so people can know more. Jim Ingersoll, Becky Ingersoll, thank you very much. This has been a blessing. I'm grateful you took your time.
Our privilege.
welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And I'm grateful you are taking yours. Don't go anywhere in just a moment. Dr. Greg Steinke, health and longevity. We all want both. This is It Is Written Live. I'll be right back. It Is Written is committed to giving people the opportunity to experience the love of Jesus. Eyes for India brings hope and vision to thousands of people in need. And there's much more. Through high-impact international medical ministry and other humanitarian projects, hearts are being reached around the globe. You can partner with It Is Written in changing lives for eternity. Your support now will bring healing and blessing to people in desperate need. enabling them to experience the power of God for the very first time. Call now, 800-253-3000. That's 800-253-3000. Visit us online at iiwworld.com or text WORLD to 71392. Designating your gift to missions will directly support these life-changing projects. Thank you for partnering with It Is Written in opening eyes to the goodness of God and offering hope to the world.